Nobody in the Kensington family had ever expected brilliance to arrive wearing scuffed sneakers and a hand-me-down hoodie. They certainly didn't expect it to sit cross-legged on their imported Persian rug. But that's the thing about genius, it never asks permission to exist. The boy's name was Elijah Brown, and that morning, he'd walked into the Kensington mansion clutching a paper bag lunch and following 2 steps behind his mother, Denise, the housekeeper. By the time he'd walk out, he'd change more than the record books. He'd change people. The Kensington estate was a different planet from Elijah's neighborhood. In the marble-floored foyer, the air smelled like polished wood and something expensive you couldn't name. Elijah's wide eyes bounced from the chandelier to the spiral staircase to the oil paintings of ancestors whose stares followed you down the hall. Don't touch anything unless Mrs. Kensington says so, Denise murmured under her breath as they stepped in. She had the polite, tight-lipped smile she wore at work, her keep them comfortable smile. Mrs. Kensington, in her cream silk blouse and diamonds that caught every shard of light, approached with the glide of someone who had never rushed for a bus in her life. Denise, good morning. And this must be your son. Yes, ma'am, Denise said quickly. This is Elijah. School's closed for. Well, you know, budget cuts. Mrs. Kensington gave a polite nod, the kind of nod that didn't quite reach her eyes. Well, he can sit in the den while you work. We'll find something to keep him occupied. Elijah stood quietly, but his gaze kept drifting to the massive oak table in the corner of the living room, where an enormous jigsaw puzzle lay scattered thousands of tiny, irregular pieces in a riot of colors. It was Mr. Kensington's pride project. A 40,000-piece monster of a puzzle imported from Germany, depicting some 17th-century royal banquet. He'd been working on it for months, sometimes with his teenage daughter Lily helping out, though she mostly got bored after half an hour. Maybe you'd like to try? Mr. Kensington's voice was casual, but it had a trace of amusement. Biggest puzzle in the world. We've been stuck on it for days. Denise immediately shook her head. Oh, I don't think, but Elijah's eyes lit up. Can I? Mr. Kensington chuckled, exchanging a glance with his wife. Sure, sport. Let's see what you can do. The first time Elijah touched a piece, it was like something inside him clicked too. He didn't fumble, didn't hesitate, just scanned the edges of the chaotic pile, plucked a piece like he'd known where it was his whole life, and snapped it into place with a soft click. Mrs. Kensington tilted her head, watching. Well, that's lucky. Lucky turned into uncanny within minutes. His hands moved in a rhythm, pick up a piece, study it for 2 seconds, place it exactly where it belonged. Again and again. Lily, who had been slouched on the sofa scrolling her phone, leaned forward. Wait, how did you? I've been looking for that piece for a week. Elijah shrugged. It was right there. No arrogance in his tone. Just fact. 3 hours passed before anyone noticed the time. Denise had been vacuuming upstairs, humming to herself, while Mrs. Kensington pretended to read the Times but kept glancing over the top of the page. The puzzle, which had looked like an unsolvable sea of chaos in the morning, now had entire sections completed, the golden banquet table gleaming, the musicians in the background fully formed, the shadows perfectly placed. Lily whispered, Mom, he's faster than Dad. Mrs. Kensington didn't reply, but the tightening of her jaw was answer enough. When Denise came down for lunch break, she froze in the doorway. Elijah. What? Don't distract him, Lily said, grinning in awe. He's like a machine. Denise smiled faintly, torn between pride and caution. She knew what this house was like. Too much attention could be a gift or a curse. Elijah, honey, you want your sandwich? Later, he mumbled without looking up. Mrs. Kensington laughed softly, though it was edged. Determined, isn't he? By the end of the day, Elijah had done what the Kensingtons thought impossible. He'd finished the entire center of the puzzle. The family stood around the table, staring at the result. That's insane, Lily whispered. You're like some puzzle wizard. Mr. Kensington rubbed his chin. You ever done one of these before, son? Just the free ones on my mom's phone, Elijah replied. It was the first time Mr. Kensington didn't have an immediate comeback. What no one in that room knew not yet was that the Kensingtons had stumbled onto something historic. Elijah's pace, if timed, would not just break the current world record for puzzle solving, it would obliterate it. And as with anything that threatens to flip the world on its head, not everyone would take it well. The next morning, Elijah was back at the Kensington mansion before sunrise. Denise had been asked, in that subtle way rich people use that means expected to bring him along again. Mrs. Kensington's voice on the phone the previous night had been sweet as honey, but laced with something Denise recognized, the sound of someone trying to decide whether they were impressed or threatened. "We'd like Elijah to work on the puzzle again," she'd said, as though she were doing Denise a favor. When they arrived, the living room looked different. The massive puzzle table had been moved to the center of the room. A small digital timer sat on the edge, its bright red numbers glowing. "What's that for?" Denise asked cautiously. "Oh, just for fun," Mr. Kensington replied, strolling in with his morning coffee. "Thought we'd see how fast your boy really is. No pressure, of course." Of course. Elijah didn't seem fazed. He slid into his spot on the carpet and began scanning the pile of pieces. The timer started. Piece after piece clicked into place with surgical precision. By mid-morning, the doorbell rang. It wasn't a neighbor or a delivery, it was a man in a blazer carrying a camera bag and a notebook. "Morning, Mr. Kensington," the man said, shaking hands. "This is the kid." Denise stiffened. "What's going on?" "Reporter," Mr. Kensington said casually. "A friend of mine from the Chronicle. Thought Elijah's little gift might make a cute human interest piece." Denise forced a smile, but inside, alarm bells were ringing. She'd seen enough cute stories about black kids with talent. Sometimes they opened doors. Sometimes they painted a target on your back. The reporter crouched near Elijah. "Hey there, champ. Mind if I take a few photos?" Elijah looked to his mom. "Go ahead," Denise said quietly. The camera clicked. The flash went off. And every time Elijah's fingers found the right piece in record time, the man's eyebrows shot higher. "This is wild," the reporter said. "You know, if he keeps up this pace, he could shatter the Guinness World Record." Mr. Kensington grinned like it was his own achievement. "That's what I was thinking." That afternoon, a second visitor Ayurveda representative from the Guinness World Records organization, flown in from New York on the Kensington's dime. She was polite, professional, and clearly curious. "We'll need to verify everything," she explained, setting up a tripod and multiple cameras. "Continuous footage, no breaks in the recording. And of course, the puzzle must be brand new, factory sealed." "No problem," Mr. Kensington said, handing over a massive box. The new puzzle was a nightmare 50,000 pieces, an ocean scene where every shade of blue was only microscopically different. Most people would have taken one look and laughed. Elijah's eyes just narrowed in focus. Denise hovered nearby. She wanted to protect him, but she could see the fire in his concentration. This wasn't just a game to him. It was like the puzzle was talking to him in a language only he understood. Lily had stopped scrolling her phone entirely. She sat cross-legged across from Elijah, handing him pieces, trying to follow his logic. "How do you see it?" she asked. "I don't know," Elijah replied. "It's just there, like the picture's already in my head, and I'm just putting it back together." By the second day of official recording, the story had hit social media. Clips of Elijah solving puzzles with lightning speed were everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Most comments were awestruck. Some weren't. One post read, "Of course the rich family is exploiting the helps kid for clout." Another, "Bet they won't give him a dime if he wins." Denise read every comment. She didn't know which scared her more, the ones that assumed the Kensingtons would take advantage, or the ones that assumed Elijah didn't belong in the competition at all. The pressure grew. The Kensingtons hosted watch parties in their living room, inviting friends to sip wine, while Elijah worked under the unblinking eyes of cameras and strangers. Every so often, someone would make a comment, sometimes a joke, sometimes not. "I can barely do the Sunday crossword," one man chuckled. "Guess it's true what they say, natural talent." Denise caught the undertone. She always did. Another woman leaned in to Mrs. Kensington. "You must be so proud. Imagine from, well, you know. And now he's here." Denise's knuckles whitened around the tray she was carrying. That night, after the guests had gone, she found Elijah in the kitchen, staring at the floor. "You okay, baby?" He nodded, but his voice was small. "They think I'm some kind of show." Denise crouched down so they were eye level. "You are not a show. You're a storm, Elijah. They just don't know it yet." On the fifth day, the Guinness representative announced they were in the final stretch. Elijah's time was already obliterating the previous world record by hours. All he had to do was finish without error. That's when the sabotage happened. Nobody saw who did it, But during the lunch break, a handful of pieces disappeared. Elijah noticed immediately when he sat back down. "They're gone," he whispered. "Maybe you misplaced them?" Mr. Kensington offered, but his tone was too quick, too dismissive. "I didn't," Elijah said firmly. The Guinness rep frowned. "We can't certify the record if the puzzle isn't complete." For a tense half-hour, everyone searched the room. Finally, Lily found the missing pieces stuffed under a sofa cushion. She pulled them out, glaring at her father. "Really?" she hissed. Mr. Kensington didn't answer, but his eyes flicked toward Denise in a way that made her blood run cold. Elijah placed the last piece at exactly 6:42 p.m. The cameras caught everything: the cheers, the Guinness official shaking his hand, the certificate in crisp gold letters. The Kensingtons posed with him for photos, smiling like they'd just won the Super Bowl. But the moment that mattered came later, when the reporter returned, asking Elijah how it felt to make history. Elijah looked straight into the camera. "It feels like I just proved something they didn't want me to prove." The morning after Elijah's win, the Kensington mansion was buzzing like a beehive. The front gates had reporters camped outside, their cameras ready for any movement. Delivery vans pulled up with packages, flowers, puzzles from fans, even a few strange gifts like a hand-carved chess set and a gold-plated Rubik's Cube. Mr. Kensington stood at the doorway like a general surveying a battlefield, shaking hands with a TV producer who had flown in overnight. "We're thinking a morning show exclusive," the producer said. "America needs to meet this kid." Denise, coming in through the back in trance, caught only snippets of the conversation before Mrs. Kensington intercepted her. "Denise, we'll need Elijah for the interview tomorrow," she said briskly, as though informing her of a change in cleaning schedule. "We've already arranged the outfits." Denise's jaw tightened. "You mean you've arranged them?" Mrs. Kensington's eyes flicked to her, a hint of annoyance crossing her face. "Well, naturally, we want him to look presentable. This is a big opportunity for all of us." In the kitchen, Elijah sat at the counter, hands wrapped around a mug of cocoa. His face lit up when he saw his mom, but it faded quickly. "They want me to wear some fancy blazer," he muttered, "and smile more. Like this." He stretched his mouth into a toothy grin that looked painful. "You're not a prop," Denise said softly, brushing his curls back. "If you don't want to do something, you say so. But if I don't, I think they'll get mad." "They'll get over it," she said. But even as she spoke, she knew it wasn't that simple. By lunchtime, the news cycle had found them. Every major outlet ran headlines. "Black teen prodigy shatters world puzzle record. Housekeeper's son stuns wealthy family with genius talent. Kensington heir apparent." Teen's future in question. Some stories painted Elijah as a Cinderella figure plucked from obscurity. Others leaned into ugly stereotypes, questioning if his skill was natural or some kind of trick. And then came the offer: sponsorship deals, scholarship programs, even puzzle manufacturers wanting him to endorse their brand. Every call went through Mr. Kensington. That evening, Denise confronted him in the study. "You need to stop handling Elijah's business like it's yours." Mr. Kensington didn't look up from his laptop. "Denise, you've done a wonderful job raising him. But let's be realistic, you don't have the connections to navigate this." "I do. He's my son. And he's a public figure now," he said smoothly. "That comes with responsibilities, contracts, things you're not equipped to manage. I'm offering him a future you can't." The words hit like a slap. Denise stood frozen for a moment, then said, "A future isn't something you own to give. It's something he makes for himself." The next day, the interview took place. Bright lights, cameras, a smiling anchor gushing about Elijah's incredible journey. The Kensingtons sat on either side of him like proud patrons. Midway through, the anchor asked, "So, Elijah, what's next? Will you keep working with the Kensington family to develop your talents?" There was a pause. Denise, standing just off camera, felt her stomach tighten. Elijah looked straight at the anchor. "I'm going to keep solving puzzles. But I'm not anybody's project. Not even theirs." The silence that followed was thick enough to cut. The clip went viral within hours. People applauded his confidence. Others accused him of being ungrateful. The Kensingtons, for the first time since this started, didn't return calls from reporters. 3 days later, the Guinness certificate arrived in the mail. It was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, an argument broke out. "We should display it here in the house," Mrs. Kensington insisted. "It's where the achievement happened." "In our house," Denise corrected, voice sharp. "Not yours." Lily, who who had been unusually quiet, suddenly said, "Why can't Elijah just take it home? It's his record." Mrs. Kensington's lips thinned. "Lily, stay out of this." "No," Lily said. "I saw Dad hide those puzzle pieces. I didn't say anything before because I don't know. But I'm not going to let you two take credit for everything he did." The room went still. That night, Denise packed Elijah's things into a duffel bag. "We're done here," she told him. He hesitated. "What about the offers?" "They'll still be there, but we'll answer them on our terms." As they walked out the side door, Elijah glanced back at the mansion one last time. The lights glowed warm in the windows, but to him, it looked colder than ever. Over the next week, they set up a small table in their apartment living room. Denise bought secondhand puzzles from thrift stores. Elijah live-streamed himself solving them. The audience grew faster than they expected. People donated, sent encouraging messages, and, most importantly, sent puzzles from all over the world. One day, a package arrived from Tokyo with a note. "You inspired my son to try puzzles. He has autism, and now it's something we can share together. Thank you." Elijah read it twice, then set the note carefully on the shelf. "This is the kind of stuff I want to do," he told his mom. Then, an email came in from a scholarship foundation specializing in gifted youth from underrepresented communities. Full tuition, living expenses, mentorship. No Kensingtons involved. When Elijah accepted, the foundation posted about it online. The headline read, "From mansion floor to global stage. Elijah Brown writes his own story the night before he left for the program. Denise made dinner fried chicken, collard greens, cornbread, the works." They ate at the small kitchen table, laughing over stories from his childhood. When they were done, Elijah pulled out the Guinness certificate from his backpack. "I want you to have this," he said. "It's yours," Denise replied. "It's ours," he said. "You taught me how to finish what I start." That's what this really is. She blinked back tears. Months later, in a packed auditorium in New York, Elijah stood on stage accepting an award for young innovators. Cameras flashed, applause thundered. But in that moment, he wasn't thinking about the Kensingtons, or the record, or the people who doubted him. He was thinking about the kitchen table, his mom's smile, and the truth he'd learned. Genius is not where you're born. It's what you build, piece by piece. The public shift against the Kensingtons didn't happen all at one seat was slow, like the way ice cracks before it breaks. At first, they ignored the online criticism, confident it would fade. But then a local podcast ran an episode titled, "The Puzzle and the Power. Who Really Won?" The host dissected every photo, every interview clip. They played the footage of Lily finding the hidden puzzle pieces and questioned why the Kensingtons never addressed it. Within days, larger media outlets picked it up. One afternoon, while sipping lattes in their usual cafe, Mrs. Kensington overheard a woman at the next table whisper, "That's them the ones who tried to steal credit from that boy." It was the first time she didn't finish her drink. Meanwhile, Elijah was thriving. The scholarship program had placed him in a community of other gifted students, some in robotics, some in mathematics, some in music. For the first time, he wasn't the exception in the room. He was part of a constellation of brilliance. He started a project called Pieces for Peace, a nonprofit that sent free puzzles to underserved schools and community centers. "It's not about breaking records anymore," he told a local news station. "It's about giving kids something that teaches patience, problem-solving, and pride in finishing what you start." The story spread. Donations poured in. Within a year, Pieces for Peace had shipped puzzles to 14 countries. But Elijah's rise wasn't without challenges. There were offers from corporations wanting to plaster his face on ads. Some were tempting large sums of money, promises of creative control, but Denise made sure they read every contract twice, sometimes 3 times. "You already learned this once," she reminded him. "The wrong people will try to own your talent. The right people will try to grow it with you." Then, an unexpected letter arrived in the mail. Thick, cream-colored stationery. Embossed initials, KK. It was from Lily. "Elijah, I don't know if you want to hear from me, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. I should have spoken up sooner. I've left home. My parents and I aren't on good terms right now, but I'm starting over. You showed me what that looks like. P.S. I still have that small corner piece from the banquet puzzle. I kept it because it reminded me that no one should have the power to finish your story but you." Elijah folded the letter carefully and tucked it in the same envelope as the note from Tokyo. A year later, Pieces for Peace hosted its first annual puzzle championship in Harlem. Kids from every borough came, their laughter filling the community center like music. Elijah stood on stage to open the event, looking out at rows of tables covered in colorful puzzle pieces. He spotted a boy in the front row, maybe 8 years old, who reminded him of himself. Knees pulled up on the chair, eyes locked on the pieces with quiet intensity. "You're all here because you love puzzles," Elijah said into the mic. "But today isn't about who's fastest. It's about remembering that every piece matters. Even the smallest one can change the whole picture." The crowd erupted in cheers. In the middle of the championship, a commotion stirred near the back. Denise turned to see who it was and froze. Mr. and Mrs. Kensington stood there, dressed down for the first time she could remember, looking uncharacteristically small in the crowded room. They didn't approach the stage. They didn't demand attention. They just watched. After the event ended, Elijah found them standing near the exit. The tension was thick, but it wasn't the same kind as before. "We came to say congratulations," Mrs. Kensington said quietly. "And to say we were wrong." Mr. Kensington's voice was rougher. "I thought I was helping you. Really, I was just trying to control the story. You deserve better than that." Elijah nodded slowly. "I learned a lot from you," he said. "Not all of it bad. But I'm writing my own story now." They didn't ask for forgiveness, and he didn't offer it, not yet. But there was something in the exchange that felt like closure. That night, Denise and Elijah walked home through the cool spring air. The championship trophy, a carved wooden puzzle piece with the Pieces for Peace logo, glimmered under the streetlights. "You proud of yourself?" Denise asked. "I'm proud of us," Elijah replied. Months passed. Elijah's work took him to conferences, schools, even international events. At each place, he carried the same message. Your value isn't decided by the room you're in, but by the pieces you choose to put together. One evening, while flying home from a speaking engagement in London, he found himself looking out over the clouds. He thought about the mansion, the record, the media circus, and he realized something: breaking the puzzle record had been the start, but it was never the point. The point was what came after. 2 years after his Guinness win, Pieces for Peace launched a scholarship fund in his name. The first recipient was that 8-year-old boy from the Harlem Championship. When they handed him the award, Elijah whispered, "You're going to do something great. Just remember, it's your story to finish." In a small frame on his apartment wall hung 3 things side by side: the Guinness certificate, the letter from Tokyo, Lily's note with the banquet puzzle piece taped to it. Underneath, in neat block letters, was a quote he'd written himself: "Genius is a puzzle. The world will try to keep pieces from you. Take them back." And somewhere in a dusty corner of the Kensington mansion, the old banquet puzzle still sat on the table, one piece missing. It would never be finished. And maybe that was the point. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.